Good morning, race fans, and welcome back to St George for the Trophy Day Sunday here at the 2025 Kmc Wheels StGeorge399. Of course, round 4 of the BFGoodrich Motorsports Australia Off-Road Championship and round 2 of the Queensland Motorsports Australia Off-Road Championship here this weekend. And yes, today's the day. Today the champions will be crowned, and on the line is our first car away in only around 2.5 minutes' time. It is the 413 Bo Robinson and Shane Hutt. Tremendous performance yesterday from the ABR crew. Like they left the Loveday 4x4 Adventure Park only a few weeks ago. Of course, Travis got the upper hand there. There's only 27 seconds between the pair here. Travis Robinson, of course, Bo's younger brother, will roll up to the grid in the 813, the all-wheel drive Mason, very shortly. A dramatic, sad day it was. Of course, it all started with the unfortunate end-to-end incident for Glenn Ackroyd and Mick Price. A few drinks with them last night at the local premises, and they said they were all okay. Little pride hurt, but they'll be back in the bandwagon. That might be their season done, I'd think, but glad that everything's okay. Testament to the GRC Motorsport roll cage in that one, in the Can-Am Maverick R. Jared Percival, tremendous run yesterday for him in third spot. And then Brent Smoothie finishing in fourth. Sort of around 3 minutes behind the speed of Percival. He did have a bit of dust to contend with yesterday, so I expect him to have a nice run today. And Kai Camilleri, interesting enough, had no brakes for apparently well over 100 kilometres yesterday. Split a brake line during that first opening lap. So I expect Kai Camilleri, see some footage there of Jared Percival, Brent Smoothie. It's been a fascinating 2025 season in ORC, and Western Australia have completely dominated it to date. Boston Morgan Horan, about 15 Ks in yesterday. Of course, he won the Prologue yesterday. Saturday morning, he blew a rear diff early on that lap 1, so that put him out of outright contention. The good news, though, for those following the Kiwi star, he's on the grid this morning out of around 11th position, so we'll see Boston Morgan Horan out here today, which is great news for all spectators. So I reckon around 30 seconds now to go before our Sunday gets underway. Get yourself trackside if you're within the St George region. Massive thanks to Motorsports Australia, of course. Kmc Wheels, our major sponsor this weekend. BFGoodrich for their support of the championship. First car away, looking an absolute treat once again on the line. The ABR Racing two-wheel drive Mason trophy truck. Robinson and Hart, the 413, about to get their Sunday cracking. And it's a dream position to be in for the ABR crew. We'll keep you up to date with all information as they come to hand. Great drone shots again. Get on this live stream, ladies and gentlemen, those watching at home, share it around, tag your friends, let's get it out there. It's good, great stuff brought to you from the production team here at St George. So a nice start for Robinson. This is exactly where he wants to be. He used the word managed a couple of times in his ORC interview yesterday with the guys at Motorsports Australia, and that is a big word of the day, managed. They're in a spot now where they can afford to do that. Travis knows where Jared needs to be to keep that momentum going. But don't get me wrong, I'm sure Travis would like to make it 3 in a row here this weekend. He's next off the line in the 813. This is the all-wheel drive Mason, Robinson and Paul Curry. Of course, long-time competitors. The Gymco days are done for Robinson, and he's in the Mason this weekend. And geez, he's had a tremendous last couple of months. The big win at the Fink Desert Race, got that one off the back. And a domination of the Loveday 400 in South Australia only a few weeks ago, and he's well and truly on his way here towards another podium finish. But a long way to go in this one, shy 270 race kilometres left today. So all the best to our two OBR guys, Bo and Travis Robinson, leading us off. Jared Percival now rolls up to the grid, the first of our pro cars here on Sunday. Joshua Howard in the navigator seat. Good to see Joshy over here from Perth. First time competing in Queensland for these guys. and they have the 2 on that Element Prodigy for a reason. So for those watching on in South Australia, here's your man flying the Element flag very nicely. You can see Bo Robertson for the first time heading over the Parker Whoops. Percival, it's his Sunday underway, and I'm sure he's stoked to be where he is. And as I said yesterday, he's a cool, calm, collected competitor. He knows exactly what he needs to do here, and if he can keep those Robinsons in sight, you just never know in this extraordinary sport we call off-road racing. Anything is possible. See Bo overrun that corner. He sort of snuck up on the inside there, but he's off and running. So too Jared Percival. Now onto the line. Another one of our interesting competitors here. He didn't have the best of runs, in his words, yesterday. Another one of our all-wheel drive Mason Trophy trucks. The 847. Currently sitting in that 4th spot. Sort of around 3 minutes 10 seconds off the pace of Jared Percival. He needs a big run here to haul in that podium position. But off the 3rd outright at the Loveday 400, anything is possible for Mr. Brent Smoothie. The 813 Robinson and Curry. Conservative run yesterday, all his words. They used the first lap as a bit of a look lap. Track's definitely more defined after those 2 laps yesterday, so I'm sure the times will be a lot quicker this morning. Perfect conditions here at Brookdale. StGeorge399, of course, thanks to the McIntyre Agriculture for all their support, giving us the land to run on here. Fast track owners as well at the other venues for the 399 since the inaugural one back in 2017. So some awesome footage there of our Travis Robinson and Paul Curry entry heading off into the distance on his first lap. Kai Camilleri, the next of our pro cars, mentioned earlier, I believe over nearly 100 kilometres with no brakes at all yesterday in the Jimco. So put that in the car this morning. I expect Kai Camilleri and Lukey Hendry to really amp up the pace here. So I expect their times to substantially quicker this morning. So all the best to Kai Camilleri. I know regardless of the issues yesterday, he'd be pretty stoked to be sort of in that top 5 and well and truly on the hunt for a maiden national podium finish. So Red Nut Racing should have a nice run in there behind Brent Smoothie, and that's just where he wants to be, I think, heading into 3 long laps today. Greg Campbell, this is another great story of Saturday. Prologued well down the track in 20th position, which wasn't a bad run for Greg Campbell yesterday. Got some in-car here of Bo Robinson for those watching on at home. Greg Campbell and Ryland Burt. I saw a Facebook release there last night. It's actually Ryland Burt in the navigator seat there for Greg Campbell this weekend. Tori Campbell didn't make the trip up from Sydney, so all the best to Greg and Ryland there in car 651, the first of our side-by-side, 6th outright. As I said, tremendous run them there for those guys yesterday out of that starting position 20. But right on his heels is Lachlan Bailey. Car of Robinson here, and we had a very different perspective. 701 of Hank Parker yesterday. See how busy they are already. Shane Hart throwing around some orders there with his right mitt. The 34 working well through towards Parker Whoops there. Camilleri and Hendry, and the next of our side-by-side pros off the line. Lockie Bailey, Jordan Zolo in the 622. So interestingly here, he's only around that 29 seconds off the pace of Mr. Greg Campbell. So we'll keep an eye on the side-by-side pro battle here. Also side-by-side championship now with the retirement of Mr. Glenn Ackroyd yesterday is well and truly alive here. There's nothing between Bailey and Campbell. So Young Cry, car 40, just spoke to him. What a run he had yesterday, only in the Queensland component of the event. But the bat spec V8 car all the way from South Africa, the man and car himself, but he's been in sort of North Lakes, Brisbane for a number of years now. Great man of the sport here in Queensland, big supporter of the SEQORRA events, running single-seater this weekend in the Pro Car, starting out of position 8. It's a huge effort. Got to remind ourselves that yesterday he was out of 45th position after that flat tyre in the Prologue. Greg Campbell, first of our side-by-sides, working his way nicely, conservatively approach this morning. Like he does, Campbell. He's really liking this track. He's had a good record here at St George over the years, and he's using that to his advantage this weekend. So young Cry heads off. It looked like the next one off should have been the 479 of Nick Commons and Ryan Galvin. Unfortunately, though, for those guys, their weekend is over. Finished yesterday in 9th spot. I found a broken valve spring yesterday on that Brenthal trophy truck, so that is the end of that for Nick Commons, unfortunately, after a tremendous start to his weekend. The 818 now onto the grid, and the third of our extreme four drives, Hayden Bentley, Sam Bentley, away from Port Pirie in South Australia, of course, a two-time Finke Desert Race champion, the 2007 ORC champion, so experiencing bucket loads here for the Bentley crew. Father and son combination this weekend, and on his social media post there yesterday, a couple of little issues for Hayden Bentley and Hannah Bentley, who we'll see coming sort of in around 10 cars time. But the good news is both home and hose. Some more footage there of Lachlan Bailey. So Bentley off and running. And it's a big day in the championship hunt for Hayden Bentley. Might seem out of it, but if things can fall his way in a number of ways, you just never know for Hayden Bentley. He's always thereabouts. Not quite sure of his issues yesterday, minor setbacks, I believe, but he's our 10th car away. Hayden and Sam Bentley, and next on the line, I believe it should be young Boston Morgan Horan, the 489. So Boston is great to see him back on the grid here this morning. As I said, rear diff failure yesterday, about 14 kilometres into that run for those wondering why he's this far back. Seated into 11th position, out of outright contention, can still grab some ORC class points here this morning. We wish him all the best. That is Boston Morgan Horan and Will Haddock, all the way from Auckland in New Zealand. So great to see him back out here doing what he loves. As he said in his press conference there yesterday, he's come a long way from New Zealand to be here this weekend. So they've put a new diff in the back of that geyser, and he's back out here singing along. Likewise, our race leader, Bo Robinson, we just got another glimpse of there on the in-car. So Bentley and Morgan Horan away. John Towers is another one here that was to be out of P12 this morning. Talking to his crew last night, it sounded like a bit of melted wire there in the back of that JT Lustrum Prologue car. The ECU had a bit of damage as well from that. So the weekend over, unfortunately, for Johnny Towers and Bruce Young. We actually did lose quite a few cars yesterday. But hopefully we can get as many of these home as possible. So we see Bentley working his magic in the Racer Engineering all-drive trophy truck. Head through the Parker Whoops there, and on the line now we should see the next of our side-by-side pros, young Sam Commons. He's one of the drivers of the day for me yesterday, only 15 years of age. finished around 50 seconds off the pace of Hayden Bentley. 11th outright after day one for young Sam. Still not quite old enough to be competing in the ORC component of this event, 16 years of age. So this time next year he'll be able to compete in the ORC. But Sam Commons and Lachlan Benny from Orange in Central West New South Wales are going to fly the flag for the Westline Motorsport crew this weekend. Those watching on at home, we've got some grading car here about race leader Bo Robinson and Shane Hutt. Saw young Sam Commons off the line. Looks like things are going rosy at the moment for our OBR. Mason, 606 now to the grid. Conroy Devine, Robert Rolls is a little bit disappointed in his, almost say, the car's performance yesterday. The top speed just wasn't there for young Conroy, and he's going to be another star of the future, Conroy Devine. He's a motorbike background and based there down in between Jaboomer and Bow Desert in the hinterland of the Gold Coast. It's great to see him out here at St George for the first time. A couple of strong results to start 2025, and I think we'll see a lot more of him moving forward. That's the 606, currently fourth in the side-by-side pro class, and 12th outright after the first day. But just to repeat, both Conroy Devine and Sam Commons here for the Queensland component, so they'll just be there 2 laps this morning, and that will be their weekend done. So the 451 onto the grid, Michael Burton Nazi, another competitor that was very impressive, actually 7th outright after that first lap yesterday afternoon. Not exactly sure of the issues that he suffered from there, but he was around 7 minutes slower that second lap yesterday. Nathan Zanata in the navigator seat. Another crew from the Queensland New South Wales border over at Stanthorpe, and great to see this rush truck doing well. He's had a bit of a lean run of late, little teething issues creeping in to the truck, but Michael Bertinazzi clearly showed yesterday he's got the pace and the ability to get this vehicle around at a nice time. So expect him to maybe pull in a couple of these side-by-sides. We'll stay tuned on that. Cameron Von Boehm now on the line in the ex-Christian Reach Can-Am X3. That's the 619. A few little issues yesterday for Cameron, but all sailing along nicely for him this morning. Another competitor just to be doing the Queensland component of this event. So just the 2 laps this morning, continuous. The ORC competitors will head into the pits for a 45-minute service break, then a compulsory parc fermé until the regroup for I believe about a 1 o'clock start this afternoon. So a big day of racing. Get on the live stream. Your Sunday is sorted for the KMC Wheels StGeorge399. It's great to be back. So Conroy Devine off and running. First car's about 15 minutes in, so the next sort of 10 to 11 minutes I'd expect the sight of our race leader. Michael Bertinazzi, tyre power rush truck doing some nice things. Justin Biggs, he's the next of our side-by-sides off the line in the 6150. Tremendous day for him yesterday. Kana Karua in the navigator seat, one of our Gold Coast-based crews. A lot of those here this weekend, and it's a little bit of a side-by-side battle here between Von Boehm, Devine and Justin Biggs. He's another one of our Queensland competitors, so this will be the last time off the line we see for Justin Biggs. Biggsy Racing, strong supporter of the SEQORRA events. So he started out of position 17. Had a couple that didn't start, Nick Commons and Johnny Towers. Tommy Darlington now rolls up to the grid in the 63 Mendiola. Of course, a True Line Earth moving car that's been backed by Michael Napier over the years, now in the hands of his brother-in-law, Tommy Darlington and Nathan Winning. Strong piece of car, this one, and loves his racing. Big supporter of the Queensland events. Had a crack at Fink this year, and wish Tommy Darlington all the best. And you never know with Tom Darlington. He's currently fourth in the Pro Buggy class heading into Sunday. So a podium might beck him here for Tommy, and we wish him all the best. And he's always a hard charger. Followed him actually alongside my mate at a recent Moriarty over the years, and he's always on the gas and not frightened to hold it hammer down. So Tommy Darlington out of position 18. The next one off the line was scheduled to be the 6140 of Zach Marsh, but Zach had some axle issues yesterday, also some fuel dramas, about 10 Ks out, which halted his run. So we won't see Zach Marsh and Richard Tazen. He was in a commanding lead in the side-by-side pro class, a couple of minutes up over Lachlan Waters, who was another that didn't make the finish. Hopefully see him out here shortly, but we'll see them around tracks very shortly. The Bentley Motorsports Racer two-wheel drive truck is on the line, the 418 of Hannah Bentley, Ben Shivel. Once again, not exactly sure that issue on that first lap for Hannah, but a second lap was quick around that 58-minute mark. So Hannah Bentley is another competitor flying the flag for the ladies, of course, this weekend in the driver's seat, and we'll expect her, another competitor that's in the ORC hunt. Had a great season today, 11th at Fink and a 8th place at the recent Love Day 400. Darlington through Parker Whoops. And Bentley. So she's 20th off the grid this morning. So 20 minutes down. Saw Robinson's come through around that 26, 27 minute mark here yesterday at the 50 kilometre mark. So he shouldn't be that far away from seeing those guys the next sort of 5 minutes or so. Bentley, Sunday underway at St George, her first time competing, I believe, here at the StGeorge399. I know Hayden's been up here a couple of times. Jack Livingston, he'll be our next side-by-side. Miguel Alardi in the navigator seat in the 6138 Can MX3. Fifth outright, fifth in class in the side-by-side championship for this season, so a lot to play out for Jack Livingston. I think he had a pretty clean run yesterday. Started, I think, no, he had a little issue because he got back past Hank Parker on our live stream. It was a good bit of footage captured by our production crew, and Jack Livingston, another young gun that's just starting out in the off-road world. He's competed all races in ORC so far with Kalgoorlie to come, so we wish him all the very best here on Sunday. Next of our two-wheel drive trophy trucks to the line, the Burt combination, Nick and Alex, Mowbridge in South Australia. This is a V8 Rush truck, of course. Sound the healthiest as he crossed the line yesterday, but great to see them back on the start line. Nick Burt, another one of our competitors following the ORC for 2025. Currently fourth in the ORC class, so another weekend of horse and points. Each section counts for points in the class battle. Outright, you have to complete full race distance, so sort of out of their game at the moment. The outright points after a couple of interesting runs over the season. But great to see the Burt father and son duo out here at St George for the first time, and great supporters. Brett Kaminsky now rolls up to the grid. Brett had an interesting day yesterday, I believe, run out of fuel at the end of lap 1. Looks like there might be a bit of a pause here because Brett Kmic's definitely meant to be on the starting grid. This is not good news for Kmc and Corey Cooper. It looks like Corey's actually getting out of the Brenthal there on the starting grid, so we'll keep an eye on that. Jack Livingston working his way over the back of the start-finish complex, about to swing it around onto Parker's Whoops for the first time on Sunday. And, of course, a massive shout-out to all our local St George legends who have done a huge amount of work out here on the Brookdale layout to get this event up and running. Matty Lawless now, one of our seeded competitors, in 24th spot off the grid. He had a fuel pressure sensor issue, he believes, yesterday, which cut short his weekend. He was sort of well and truly inside that top 10, and one of the sweet sounding V8s into this weekend. Matty Lawless, Clayton Callan. See some more great in-car of our WA fire protection. A few skippies running across as well, and Robinson and Shane Hutt doing very nice. Total Mind Solutions, Jimco of Matty Lawless off and running, which means, yeah, definitely no start so far for Brett Kmc, which is not great news there for the team from the Gold Coast CMS Racing, so keep an eye on that. Another one of our side-by-sides now rolling to the grid. Matty Lawless away nicely. Bo Robinson. Well, these number of fence line parts of the track here, 89 kilometres for those just joining us. Lachlan Waters is another one who snapped the rear radius arm bolt yesterday, causing a wheel to collapse. That was his drama while he was running about 6th or 7th outright at one stage, Lachlan and Kevy Waters. And second in the side-by-side class behind fellow Queenslander Zach Marsh, who we didn't see come to the track today. Great to see Lachlan Waters out here and his first run in this new Kmc Maverick R build. And I expect a big showing from him today. Another, just gained some valuable seat time here in the 699. And yeah, those, both Waters and Lawless seeded into today's starting order. Robert Knight will be the next one on the grid, the 655. If you're Leonard on his left in the silly seat. Looks like Corey Cooper's back in the Brenthal. Helmet and blower are fitted. So Rob Knight should be the next car off and running in the off-road rush. NMR, Robinson and Hutt. Well, that's 25 minutes a lap. So I'm saying any time now we'll see the first of our race vehicles at the 50 kilometre mark, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a quick morning. So there we go, Kmc away, Rob Knight, Matty Leonard. So he's about to get the Kmc charge, I'd say, in 8:34. So lost the 2 or 3 minutes once again there for Brett Kmc. They're still in contention both laps. Completely lost that 14 minutes in the pit area yesterday to fill up, as they say. So we wish both of those guys all the best. The next one off and running, it is Coop Weston. I believe Chris Weston in the driver's seat this morning. Oh no, I think we have a first-time navigator, Ethan Perks, in the navigator seat there, the 61 off-road rush buggy. So keep an eye on him working through the field. One of the more experienced competitors, that is for sure, in the field this weekend, Chris Weston. They broke an idler pulley yesterday on the back of that buggy when Cooper was off to a nice start on the sort of back half of that first lap. Some great drone footage there of the Robinson and Hutt Mason coming back towards us here at event headquarters. Weston and Ethan Perks are away. So they started out of 27th position on the grid. Another one of our cars to be seeded after an unfortunate Saturday. Hank Parker, the People's Champion rolling onto the start line. He's got Simon Knight in the navigator seat today. Simon had an unfortunate timing chain issue yesterday, put him out early on, and here he is Bo Robinson, Shane Hutt, our leading car at the 50 kilometre mark as Parker gets his Sunday underway, and Robinson sounding as strong as ever as he comes past. I think running nicely there for Robinson. That's a 50 kilometre mark, as we just seen come past, for those wondering how the track lays out. Once we see them come past, they have around that 38, 39 kilometres remaining. Looks like Kmic's made the early pass there on Rob Knight, which is good for both crews. Rob Knight can sort of run his own race now, knowing that Kmic's out of the way. It's an in-car, for those watching on the stream, of Hank Parker again. We got some Bo Robinson stuff. Not sure about Boston Morgan Horan's in-car, but Simon Knight's in for a fun Sunday. I don't think Tyson handled yesterday's couple laps as well as you would have liked. That was a word from Hank this morning. Chris Sollett now off the line. Of course, he had a solid day yesterday, was the words Dave Skinner told me, and fortunately we saw Dave Skinner had a throttle body issue yesterday and put him out of the race while he's hovering around that top 20. So unfortunate there for the second of our SEQORRA cars. But it's good to see Julie Creek base Chris Sollett still flying the flag there in the little sports light. He's got 2 laps remaining in his event, just entered in the Queensland component. The second of our leading cars. Here is Trav Robinson, Paul Curry. We'll bring you some times. It took Bo Robinson 27 minutes and 6 seconds to get to this point. And 27:42 for Travis Robinson. So there you go. That's interesting. So around 36 seconds quicker for Bo Robinson to the 50 kilometre mark, so he's extend the margin provisionally as we stand here. Hank Parker. Here is Jared Percival, so there's definitely been some time made up for Percival. The Ash, here's some patrols just off the line. That's Steve and Deborah Ash in the 862. They were the last car to leave the line. Had a good run yesterday. I believe another crew to be just doing the Queensland component of this event. So just the 2 laps this morning. Daniel Challen hit a big hole yesterday, are the words, the big hole, and he broke an axle, put in the 2-wheel drive, changed the wheel over and got going. A bit of bush mechanics there for Challen. And Kylie Dennis, the advanced racing team. The 626 always beautifully turned out Can-Am Maverick. And they know they want to hunt down this side-by-side championship, they'll need to complete all laps today. So that is obviously the main focus here for Daniel Challen. So the 626, Jared Percival, there you go. So Jared Percival to that 50 kilometre sector mark at 27:23. So around 19 seconds quicker than Travis, and around 17 seconds slower than Bo Robinson. So bit of inroads there for Percival. He needs to get past Travis Robinson. That is the next step. Brent Smoothie, Gary Olsen coming through, another one of our side-by-side competitors on the start line. I think it's the 688 of Kane Bachman. Great to see them back out on the circuit. Lukey Mitchell in the navigator seat from sort of central Victoria. I believe their first off-road race here this weekend. So the ex-Justin Ryder Can-Am. And here is the next of our buggies. And this was my interesting focus point of this morning's first lap. How quick can Kai Camilleri go with some braking power? And you can already tell it was almost a huge moment for Kai Camilleri. He's fortunate enough there to steady the ship and get it back down on all 4 wheels. But I'm sure Brendan, his father in the pits, I like to see in that. But the good news is that Jimco is hunting along. We'll get you a 50-kilometre split time there for Kmc, but it definitely looked like he made a bit of inroads on Brent Smoothie. So we still have quite a few cars off the line. The 696 is the next vehicle away, and only his second race start here this weekend. Should be the Ian Downey entry. Brian McCabe in the navigator seat, another one of our Hunter Valley Newcastle-based crews. And so there you go. Yeah, I knew he was quick. So Smoothie with a 27.49, Kai Camilleri 27.27. So all provisional, of course, but Kai Camilleri, the third quickest vehicle to this 50-kilometre mark this morning. But it's still Bo Robertson who's extended his lead at the top. Just wish all the best to both Kane Bockman and Ian Downey, very new to the off-road scene. Mark Robbo Robinson now up to the grid. I believe a cracked transmission cooler issue yesterday, and he's borrowed one off Simon Knight's Rush truck, which is the great camaraderie about this sport. And the local legend, Robbo, who he and his navigator do a power of work out here on the circuit. Of course, Les Tatum in the navigator's seat. Chevrolet C20 Chev-powered trophy truck, and see Kane Bockman working his way over the back. So the first 5 cars have come through cleanly. Bo Robinson, Travis Robinson, Jared Percival, Brent Smoothie and Kai Camilleri. Greg Campbell is scheduled to be the next vehicle through. So Mark Robertson be looking, fortunate day for him yesterday. So a drama in the prologue. Brad Zacher should be the next one away, the 683. Great to see Brad Zacher back out on the off-road scene. Of course, King Shocks Australia now. Mike King Shop there in Brizzy. It's a hired Can-Am X3 off GRC Motorsport for the weekend, and as I said, got young son Ryan, I believe he's sharing the driving duty, so possibly in the seat this morning if you get any word on that. Back from in-car of Bo Robinson there. Full noise heading towards around that sort of 70-kilometre mark. We shouldn't be too far. It's around 34 minutes elapsed. I reckon in the next sort of 12 to 14 minutes we should be seeing one of our first cars. So we're still waiting for our 6th vehicle to come through to our view here in front of us. Greg Campbell, Lachlan Bailey, Young Cry, Hayden Bentley, Boston Morgan Horan should be the next cars through. So hopefully we can keep a tracking on them. The next car off the line, I think it's the Honey Badger. It's the Dave Lufton, Darren Barker. Broke that lower A-arm yesterday just as they come over the finish jump here, and saw what happened after that. A little bit of a tumble there for Dave Lufton, but like they always do, they've worked overtime to get the Prologue car back on the track for today's action. Great to see Dave Lufton, Little Old Men Racing, he calls himself. He's still driving very nicely. So here we go. We see Greg Campbell coming through in the 651. Lachlan Bailey is on the charge in the 622. So a clear advantage here for Lachlan Bailey. Championship up for grabs here. Well, whoever really wins that battle, I think will head to Kalgoorlie atop the side-by-side ranks. But you can definitely see Greg Campbell with a 30-30. I expect Lachlan Bailey to be a lot quicker than that. Started a minute behind him. Poor Tuck Lee. Next one off the line. No major issues for poor Tuck Lee yesterday. Quick service. And here's Boston Morgan Horan, the young Kiwi Raider. So he's obviously overtaken Bentley and Young Cry. So what time? This is going to be interesting. Unfortunately, out of the outright order. He's about to give some of these competitors, Greg Campbell, Lachlan Bailey, I think about to get a little bit of a fright. They'll know he'll be coming. This quick is the unknown. So, of course, we thank the St George region for all their support, the Boulogne Shire for making the Kmc Wheels StGeorge399 possible. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I can confirm provisionally Boston Morgan Horan has gone 26.12 to the 50-kilometre mark, which is just shy of a minute quicker than Bo Robinson. Just shows you the speed of this young Kiwi. Quite remarkable. But back to the action, because another local off the line, Paul McCulloch, in the 6.29. He had dramas all day yesterday, unfortunately. Young Cry, it looks like going through there in the 40, the bat spec. Still no sign of Hayden Bentley as yet, so hopefully everything's okay there for the Bentley crew. But Paul McCulloch was the last car on the line. Mal McDonald in the navigator's seat. Another two guys that help out immensely out here at the St George 399 and other events. So we thank those guys immensely. Paul McCulloch, the 6.29. So only sort of a handful of cars left. Unfortunately, the 6.144, who was scheduled to be off next, Craig and Jim Anderson from Kupanock over out of Taree, broke a front lower control arm on that second lap yesterday around the 4K mark, I believe. So puts them out of action today. The 818 of Hayden Bentley. So he's come through. What a run from Boston Morgan Horan, a 26.12. Good to see a new lap record here to me, 52.17, the time to beat from Travis's second lap yesterday. The 112 now on the start line. Tate Svensson, not exactly sure what happened on that second lap for Tate. Quickly now done it in the navigator's seat, the Stealth Predator. But hey, he's still in contention. 2 laps on the board, not out of it yet. That's with the leading Prologue competitor with the retirement of John Towers and the issue we saw with Dave Luffman losing a tyre. So 3 clean laps here and he'll take home the Prologue trophy. Expect a big run though for Tate Svensson. Shout out to everyone watching online on our live stream here on the SEQORRA Facebook page and YouTube channels. It's been a great start to Sunday. Yes, perfect weather here. Beautiful morning. Going to be a top 22 degrees here in sunny St George, and the wind coming from the south, which will be great for competitors because conditions are quite dry and dusty out here. See our first car, Bo Robinson, Shane Hutt, well and truly. That's 40 minutes a lap now, so around 10 minutes or so from a lap under the bag. But we'll get back to the start line because the next one of our vehicles, the 50 of Dave Allport, I believe he had a flat tyre yesterday for the 50, a home-built car, and great to see Dave Allport and Christy Page from Crookwell in New South Wales. Great supporters of off-road racing, of course. The Allport family run the Crookwell event for a number of years on the New South Wales off-road circuit. Beautifully turned out home-built car, the Nissan VQ35 power plant, and I'm sure a few laps under the belt here will do his confidence good before heading to Nabiac in a couple of months' time, and then he's going to do a few more events next year, including the big one, the Fink Desert Race. So all the best to Paul and Christy there as they head off in car 50. Now, Ross Newman is one of our final cars away. I think we've only got a couple left. 6681. Rossi Newman, Jessica Jackson. Haven't spoken to Ross, but I do believe he had a bit of a rumble and a tumble out there on that second lap yesterday while he lost a bit of time coming in. Both okay. One of the veterans of the field. No fear, Ross Newman, that is for sure. The only side-by-side sport competitor. Did his 2 laps yesterday in 2 hours and 45 minutes. So I'm sure he's looking to improve on that time a little bit here this morning. So we're still waiting for our next car through. We've had everyone to date. Young Sam Commons, hopefully he will be shortly. Conroy Devine, Michael Bertinazzi, Cameron Van Boom, Justin Biggs, Tommy Darlington should be sort of the next lineup of cars past our 50 kilometre marker. The 6:47, Scotty Garver completed both laps yesterday. Here is Sam Commons on cue. The 6:46, a 15-year-old flying the flag proudly for Westline Motorsports here this morning after the unfortunate retirement of Nick Commons overnight. The valve spring issue. So Scotty Garver off the line, another one of our Gold Coast based crews in one of those Rush Can-Am Maverick R's. We wish him all the best. His son's sharing the navigating duties here this weekend. Awesome rear drone shot here of the Allport car going through the Parker Whoops. That's some magic footage by the production team. Seems to be handling it very nicely there, so be pretty happy with that. Davey Allport, so he heads off for his opener, and I think the final car away for Sunday at the StGeorge399, brought to you by Kmc Wheels SEQORRA Motorsports Australia, is the 678 from Coolcarn down between Wagga Wagga and Albury, southern New South Wales. Paul and Kate Goody, only their second run in this Can-Am X3, seated in this position, only did the one lap yesterday, actually missed the turn, so the 678, Paul and Kate Goody, the husband and wife combo, the final car away. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I think we've had around 38, 39 starters here this morning from the 46 that started Section 1 yesterday. The next competitor through looks like it's Conroy Devine, the 606. So a couple more sector times as they come to hand. We saw Hayden Bentley with a 28.57. Sam Commons a 29.59. And Conroy Devine pops up with a 30.48. But if you're just joining us, 45 minutes into the opening lap here on Sunday, Boston Morgan Horan has hit the provisional, of course, so we'll have that provisional sector marker here at the 50k mark with a 26.12, Bo Robinson 27.06. So an extraordinary first 50k's for Boston Morgan Horan, just showing ability, his youth. Unfortunately out of running, and all eyes on our first Mason trophy truck seen on our screens. Robinson and Hutt, 5 minutes a lap. So Michael Bertinazzi, Cameron Von Boom, Justin Biggs, Tommy Darlington, scheduled to the next vehicles through. So Cameron Von Boom in the 619 heading through, which means actually missed the Bertinazzi rush truck. Robinson 80 kilometres in 2 seconds ago, so under 10 kilometres remaining for the 413. Seeing what I'm seeing on these pictures brought to you by our production team. He's not mucking around here this morning. It's a fascinating part of the event. Exactly where they want to be to manage this race. But also an interesting point with the final lap this afternoon. It gets reseeded on section 2 times. So at the moment, Boston Morgan Horan, just a long way to go, over 100 20 odd kilometres left of this one. But at the moment he's leading off section 3. He goes on section times, not outright position. So that's also in the back of these competitors' minds. But Bo Robinson looks like he's really found his groove early here on Sunday. So just a bit of news there that the 451 of Michael Bertinazzi is stationary. You can see him come through the 50-kilometre mark. So the 451 of Michael Bertinazzi. A great start to his weekend yesterday, but looks like he's come to a bit of a stop. Also reports that Young Cry in the 40, the back car, has pulled up as well. So a couple of our competitors that started around that top 12 or so off the grid have both pulled up at some part of the track. Young Cry did go past us in 8th position. Again, thanks to a lot of our sponsors here, of course, the St George region, CMS Racing, Brett Kaminsky, who we'll see out on the track, UTV Surgery, RDO Equipment in Town, Black Diamond Powder Coating. See, looks like the Justin Biggs, Kmc 6150 going through. Rush Trucks, St George Freight Lines, Maranoa Tyres, and Stickman's Construction for all their hiring out, lending of the Sisyphus and so forth, other equipment for this weekend. Of course, KMC Wheels being the major naming rights sponsor of the STGeorge399 this year. Motorsports Australia, SEQORRA Club. So here is the second of our Bentley trophy trucks. It is Hannah Bentley, 418. So Hannah's had a nice start. Looks like she's got past Tommy Darlington at some point. We haven't seen the 63 Mendiola through yet. Yeah, so it looks like, yeah, Michael Bertinazzi and Tommy Darlington, the only two that we didn't see. There we go. So we just got some in-car here of Hank Parker. Is actually stopped on the circuit as well. That's the 701. There we go on our screens. Like Simon Knight was out having a look on that front right. Looks like Hank stayed pretty stationary there in the cruiser. Looks like he's getting back in. Here is Tommy Darlington. It looks like Simon's getting strapped back in, so hopefully everything's okay there for those guys. Darlington through, so obviously Hannah Bentley's made a nice pass on him. Bo Robinson a couple more times. Justin Biggs 32.14, sector 1. Hannah Bentley 30.08. Puts her up there near Tommy Darlington 32.51. Bo Robinson is not far away now, 50 minutes elapsed, so I expect any minute now he'll pop his head up over the crest to the left of the headquarters. There's a few people up on the hill. Some awesome drone footage coming in. And here comes Robinson, currently second outright in the championship. But their dream is to come 1-2 in the ORC, something they've been chasing for a long, long time since their late father Brian started the dream all those years ago. The hours, the time, the effort, the commitment to Australian off-road racing, the Robinson family, and all of a sudden everything is working out for the Robinson family. And here is our first car. So we get a lap one time shortly for Bo Robinson, Shane Hart, the 413. There you go, a 51.17. So exactly a minute quicker than his brother Travis's quickest lap yesterday, which was a 52.17. So Did say the conditions would be at their absolute finest here this morning. Great conditions. Still 2 laps remaining though. I mean, it's 3 laps down, 1 this morning. Some great drone footage here of the Robinson Mason. Next question is, how far behind is Travis? As I said, championship completely the aim here this weekend. It's still a long way to go. 1.5 points at the Kalgoorlie Desert Race. In a couple of months' time, Hank Parker back in motion. A bit of a checo, maybe a few noises popping up there in 76 Land Cruiser. Great news is the 701 is back up and running. 51.17 is the time to beat. Going on that marker, Boston first 50 kilometres. Maybe the 50-minute mark can be broken here. A bit wide there. Bo Robinson, next one of our side-by-sides through. Might be the Jack Livingston entry. 6138. So he's held his position. Nick Burt, Matty Lawless, Lachlan Waters, Rob Knight, Coop Weston, Brett Kaminsky should be the next few through. And there is Nick and Alex Burt. So like yesterday, just there is Travis Robinson. So Percival, I'd nearly imagine won't be that far off if everything was going well for him this second part of lap 1, and a 52.26 for Travis Robinson. So 1 minute and 9 seconds slower than his brother. That would have got a good glimpse of one another there, but this is exactly where they want to be in terms of the race, in terms of the championship. And Kaminsky, after a bit of a miss off the start, sounds like he's running nicely in the 8:34. Not exactly where he'd want to be Sunday morning. There is Percival. So there's probably not much in that. Maybe Travis. There you go, 52.10. Yeah, so around 16 seconds quicker for Percival over Travis on that opening lap, which will pull the margin down around 50 seconds, 45 or so seconds between Travis and Jared Percival for that second position, which is also interesting, which means Percival at this stage starts ahead of Travis Robinson for the final lap this afternoon, which adds another dimension. See Shane Hutt checking his phone there. A couple of our local recovery crews to the right there watching Bo Robinson in his absolute element here as we just approach 8:30 local time. Great pictures. But he's holding on there, but no, the 413 of Bo Robinson and Shane Hutt clearly out in front now. Another minute. What's that? Minute 9. So the lead's popped up to around 1:40 now. 2 laps remaining for the 413. So well on his way onto his second lap. The 701. Brent Smoothie. So we see Travis Robinson, Paul Curry work his way through Parker's whoops once again in the 813. Expect Brent Smoothie, Kai Camilleri very shortly. There is Brent Smoothie. How far away is Kai Camilleri is the big question. But Smoothie goes through with a 52.47. Lachlan Waters heads off over the back of the complex. I didn't see the 71 of Matt Lawless. Here's Chris Weston. So Chris Weston having a nice run. Smoothie crosses with, as I said, a 52.46, so around 20 or so seconds off the pace of Travis Robinson. try and get a bit of a update on car 34. Yeah, well and truly on his way, so he's still coming in. He lost a bit of time though. He was a lot closer to Smoothie coming through at the 50-kilometre mark, and there you go. So he's into the pit. So Camilleri and Luke Hendry, the first of our front-running cars to enter the pit area. Not great news there for Camilleri. Hank Parker back on our screens through a little bit of the scrub section here of the StGeorge399. I don't think Hank Parker's at full speed myself, but you don't know. Yesterday he was holding on a lot tight onto that wheel, so maybe nursing his baby a little bit here this morning, but we'll have to stay tuned on that. He's got Simon Knight in the navigator's seat. So I definitely didn't see Matty Lawless come through in the 71. Chris Weston was the last vehicle through, so he's obviously made the pass on Rob Knight. Hank Parker, Chris Sollett, Stephen Ash, Daniel Challen, Kane Bockman should be a few of our next competitors. And even with Kai Camilleri there, the 52.57. So still a reasonably quick time, only a few seconds off Brent Smoothie. So I think the next vehicle through will be the 489 of Boston Morgan Horan. Lachlan Bailey, to me, looks like he's made the pass on Greg Campbell. Rob Knight coming through in the 655. Hayden Bentley still working along nicely. Should be sort of the next handful or so cars. Sam Commons, Conroy Devine, Cameron Von Bohm, Justin Biggs. I think Hank Parker, looking at his live stream, might have some issues in the cruiser. He's not going at the speed he was at yesterday. One hand on the wheel, which is a bit of a giveaway there for Hank the Tank, but we'll have to stay tuned on that. He's one man that's not doing it that bad at all is Bo Robinson, though. Everything's looking very nicely for him so far. Some great scenes brought to us by the production crew. Shane involved heavily in that as well, so hats off to everyone who made that happen this weekend. Still plenty of action to unfold. This is just the start of what's going to be a big Sunday. Of course, our lead 5 cars now on lap 2. Compulsory 45-minute service break awaits the completion of this one. There we go. So Hank Parker has pulled up once again onto the right-hand side of the track. So definitely looked like he was suffering from something there. It looks like he's pressed the OK on his rally safe device. A clear issue there for Parker. Simon Knight looks like he's getting out, doing a few repairs there. Boston Morgan Horan should be our next competitor coming through on cue, and here he is. Oh, what a talent. Oh, I'll tell you what, has not backed off one bit there. And there you go, a 50.38 for Boston Morgan Horan, ladies and gentlemen. Might be out of outright contention, but a few good laps here will do his confidence no harm at all. Not that he really needs any more. He's a great young competitor, great person on and off the track, and hopefully we'll see him at the Kalgoorlie Desert Race in a couple of months' time, a place that, once again, he took to the floor last year before power steering issues early on Sunday. Chris Sollett goes through. So unfortunately, Hank Parker didn't make the 50-kilometre mark as yet. But Chris Sollett having a nice run. One of our side-by-sides. It's the Daniel Challen entry, 6.26. going through, so he's obviously made the pass on Steve Ash. We haven't seen him through as yet. But a 50.38 for Boston Morgan Horan, started down in 11th spot behind Hayden Bentley. Overtaken Bentley, Young Cryer, Lachlan Bailey and Greg Campbell an open lap. And now he has a clean run because he's got no one ahead of him until Brent Smoothie. He's good sort of 4 or 5 minutes ahead, not going to catch him. So this could be a serious lap time for Boston Morgan Horan. Hopefully bring it home. So the first of our side-by-sides, and this will be our 6th outright car. Lachlan Beatty, Jordan Zolo, Bailey Motorsports Can-Am Maverick R. So he started the day about half a minute behind Greg Campbell. There is Greg Campbell, so he's definitely made that advantage. And Boston Morgan Horan has not backed off an inch over on Parker's Whoop. So truckies set up like a dream there. The guys are the ex-Kittle Motorsport machine. So Bailey through in a 56.27 or 57.42 for Greg Campbell. So Lachlan Bailey has retaken the lead in the side-by-side pro class here provisionally. We're heading to lap 4 of this one. Oh, good news. Hank Parker and Simon Knight back on, up and running. Waiting for Steve Ash, Hayne Bockman, Ian Downey, Mark Robinson, Brad Zacher, a few of our next competitors to come through the halfway mark of this one. Here we go. So we got, looks like Steve and Deb Ash, Mark Robinson having a good lunge here. He's might be gonna get past him on the inside. Matty Lawless, who's had a clear issue there. Bit of a drag race here. So Robinson gets past. And Matty Lawless obviously has had another issue. Get some awesome shots there on our drone. Hayden Bentley coming through to complete his opening lap this morning. So Bentley, like I said, hasn't been the quickest car out here by no means this weekend, but very consistent performer. And it looks like, did we see the Jimco head back out there? Kai Camilleri definitely looked like Kai. So maybe a little bit of bad luck there for Hayden, but I'm sure Kai will get out of his road pretty quick, and it's good news to see Kai Camilleri back out on the circuit. Hayden Bentley, the time for him very shortly. So he was our 8th car to complete. Be a little bit of a gap now back to our next competitors. Sam Commons, Conroy Devine, Cameron Von Bohm and Justin Biggs. Yeah, so Young Cry at the 54 kilometre mark. It's definitely stopped. So unfortunately that'll be the last we see of him. Dave Luffnan shouldn't be that far away, I don't believe, from our halfway mark. Kane Bockman, Ian Downey, other competitors that we haven't seen through. Here is the Honey Badger. It's his 3rd season now in the Luke Ersedge built machine, and always looking a picture. See Kai Camilleri on our screens heading towards the 34 Jimco, going through the back on Parker's Whoops here for the penultimate time this weekend. Of course, this lap got that service break, and then they'll do it all again for the final showdown this afternoon. There we go, time for Hayden Bentley, and it's a good one, a 55.18 for Hayden Bentley. So Starting that 10th, had a couple of withdrawals in front of him, so Hayden Bentley, you'd think, will be well and truly around that sort of top 6 competitors as we stand in the outright order. Young Sam Commons, for those Westline guys watching on my calculations, should be the next vehicle through in front of us, in only not far away at all. And the 606 of Conroy Devine and Cameron Von Boehm as well. All of our side-by-sides, looks like the Ian Downey entering Kane Bockman go past the 50 kilometre mark, so both going along nicely. I still know Hank Parker and, of course, Michael Bertinazzi, the only couple of cars so far that haven't made past us here. Brad Zacher that far away now. Paul McCulloch looks like he's still moving nicely towards the 50 kilometre mark. Tate Svensson is around 43 k's in. Hank Parker looks like he's going to make the 50 kilometre mark, and hopefully for those guys they can continue. It looks like it's been a bit of a rough morning there for the 701 crew. Poor Tuck Lee, still out there. Dave Allport, hopefully he's still going. It says he's around the 40 kilometre mark, and here is young Sam Commons, the 646. Coming through very nicely. Hank Parker goes past our 50 kilometre vision. We might nearly see a pit entry for Hank when he comes through after the first lap. See the track's really starting to rut out there. A lot of the ground is very soft by all reports, as you can tell, and a lot of hard surface as well. So the nature of our terrain. Paul McCulloch having a nice crack there. He's just about to get on the horn there to Brad Zacher. So a nice couple of laps. Conroy Devine goes through. We saw Sam Commons with a 57.03 and a 57.12 for Conroy Devine in the 6.06. So a couple of nice laps there. Only a few seconds between young Sam and Conroy.